All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, I have a little bit of a better setup than normal. Everything's a little bit nicer, a little bit brighter, nice little hue. That's thanks to my guest today. This is actually one of my best friend's dads that I've known for a while. Started out, well, when I knew him, at least as a youth pastor, then started getting into editing, doing a lot of digital stuff, digital media, and then now has the second biggest home theater YouTube channel,
Yeah,
and
I don't know about that. It's
getting
growing.
pretty big. Well,
It's growing.
first place in my heart. The only one I watch. So,
Appreciate it.
very special guest today, Youthman, Michael Stevens. Thanks
Hey,
so
man.
much for letting me come out here, use all everything, sharing some of your time.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
you inviting me onto the podcast, man.
Heck yeah, I've been a work in progress for a while, but finally really happy to get you on.
Cool.
And I mean, you've been staying pretty busy yourself. You've
Yes.
kind of gone full time with YouTube
Yep.
from other career paths. So
Sure.
what's that experience kind of been like? Pretty satisfying so far. Good ride.
Honestly, it's been incredible. So in 2020, I had already been building my channel.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had my channel about 4 years as far as trying to grow it. So I had 90 or 900 subscribers 4 years ago. And I just had the thought of, what would happen if I make a consistent weekly video? Can I grow this thing? Can I turn it into a business? Can I just really go all in on my passion for home theater and audio and video and such? And so I started making a single video every single week, and I began to see the channel grow. And I got more excited, and then as the channel continued to grow and grow and grow, I began to kind of figure out different revenue streams from YouTube through like affiliate links and different things. And as it began to grow, I began to make a plan. Okay, could I make this a full-time,
Right.
living? Can I feed my family and do what I love and what I'm passionate about? And in 2020, right at the beginning of a pandemic, we made the jump to go all in. And dude, it's been incredible. It's been absolutely fun. So many cool opportunities and doors have opened, and it's just been a blast, man. I couldn't be more happy.
Heck yeah. And was it something that did you sit on it for a while too? Or is it you were just kind of looking at YouTube? You're like, you know what? I think I probably could do that full time. It was like, I might do it. I might do it. And then you finally did it, or is it just like, you know what? Why not? And then you just boom, you just jumped in and started going ahead like as hard as you can.
Yeah, so Youthman comes from being a youth pastor,
Right.
and that's how you and I met. So I was a student pastor for 23 years, and I'm 46 now, so I'm getting older. Working with teenagers was becoming probably more difficult. Staying up all night doing lock-ins and, traveling with middle schoolers wasn't quite my passion anymore, and I couldn't figure out like what was going on. And so honestly, this was part of my faith journey. And so my wife and I just began to pray about it, and because I knew that my passion was changing. It was no longer for student ministry. I mean, I didn't lose my faith or anything. I mean, I was still really involved in my local church, but just wasn't in the focus of teenagers. And so I've always been excited about home theater. Since I was a teenager, man, I've had speakers and surround sound when that first came about. And I had, even in my college days, we had a laser disc player,
Oh, the big ones.
Yeah, the big
Heck
ones.
yeah.
So I didn't have it because I was broke. I was a college.
Yeah, you spend it all on the sound systems.
Yeah. So I was a college student, broke as a goat. But my roommate had the Laserdisc player, and so I've just always been into that, and I've enjoyed photography and videography and video editing, probably since 2004. And
Oh,
so,
so
and
kind of the beginning.
yeah,
kind
and even web development. So I started a web development company, just working from home, picking up a project here and there, really just to pay off debt and earn some extra income for the family. But all of these things began to kind of culminate, and I'm like, wait a minute, everything that I'm passionate about, the things that I love, I'm able to do that through YouTube, build a business, build a brand, have fun, review cool products that I love, subwoofers and amplifiers and speakers and projectors and all this stuff. And then, and then there's opportunities to travel, to go to trade shows like CEDIA and Axpona and things like that, and just to really meet some really great brands in the process. And so, just looking at that, it was like, I kind of really believe that God is kind of steering me something, in this direction, which is weird for me. Because I really thought that I would be a student pastor the rest of my life, and this YouTube thing would just kind of be over here on the side. But it ended up being like, okay, this is where I think God wants me right now. And so, dude, I'm just along for the ride, man. It's been a blast. We've been having fun, and I'm still learning. There's so much I don't know about business because I'm not a business. I wasn't raised in a business family like my dad. Nobody I know is an entrepreneur.
Right.
So what does that even look like? And so I've just had to surround myself with people that are in business, that have been down this road, that understand, YouTube, or maybe they're just learning like me, and we're learning together. But dude, it's been awesome, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've been having a great time since. Because obviously I've known you since this like whole growth, and you just seem to be getting happier and happier every time. Everything seems to keep going. You're making progress, and like pretty much kind of every facet you're looking to make progress in. And gotta be a good feeling, the feeling of success and being able to provide, doing what you love.
Yeah,
it's a certain like a freedom and like relief to just be able to do it.
It is. I mean, because you make. All right, so there's risk and reward. There's pros and cons of any job, but being an entrepreneur, being your own kind of boss and owning your own business, definitely some perks there because, I mean, I can wake up, like the other night, I was up till 3 a.m. editing and building a website for a client. But then I slept in till like 9, so I make my own schedule. I don't have to show up at work. If I want to wear shorts or if I want to dress up, I make those calls. But then again, like, I don't have somebody sending me a check at the end of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have to make sure that I'm busting my butt, that I'm being productive, that I'm looking for ways to build the brand, to build the business, and just diversify that as much as possible. But yeah, dude,
that's a big thing.
It's been cool. It has really been cool. It's been a great learning experience. So in 4 years, we went from 900 subscribers to, I think right now I'm at about 91,000 subscribers.
Okay.
So definitely just consistent growth. I mean, I'll never be, a PewDiePie. I'll never be a Mr. Beast. And I'm not trying to be.
Right.
But you can absolutely have a full-time income doing content creation, whether it's Instagram or YouTube. Mine is mainly focused on YouTube. But you can have that even with not even having 100,000 subscribers. Yeah. So again, I started full-time 2 years ago, so I was probably at like 50,000, somewhere around there, maybe 60.
And then just growing.
Yeah. But it's been cool, man.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
That's awesome. And that's the thing too. It's everyone thinks you have to become somebody else, or that's the biggest thing. And I mean that you seem to understand. It's like you don't have to be PewDiePie, or you don't have to like be anybody else. All you have to do is create what you want to create, and make your own satisfaction of that. And I mean, there's honestly a danger in like constantly just trying to go for views, because then you can't constantly go for views and that be your only goal and really achieve peace or any like semblance of satisfaction like at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because you're only gonna want that. You're not creating. I mean, you can't achieve peace through that. So
you definitely you gotta kind of be your own. You got to find your own path and your own direction, and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, and it's just figuring out process. And like you said, you were doing something else for 26 years, and then another door opened for you, and then look at you now. Look at you now, enjoying it. Yes, sir. And that's what it's. I mean, yeah, it's awesome. It's nice to see good people succeed.
Appreciate it, man.
Heck yeah. But so yeah, how was it like in terms of like nervousness, I guess, and hesitation? Was there? What are some things that were kind of like holding you back that you were able to overcome when you were kind of making that jump?
So initially, when I started the channel 4 years ago, the hardest thing was what we're doing right now, getting in front of the camera
Yeah.
and hitting record, because initially your brain tells you they're going to comment on your big ears.
Yeah.
They're going
I
to
get what you're
comment on whatever. The people are going to see your flaws, and you're just going to get haters. And so that's the negative part of it. And your brain feeds you those things. And most of my life, man, I was the kind of the outcast. I was the kid at school that literally got picked on for everything. I was too skinny. I was dorky. I wore glasses. I had acne. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Every kid picked on me all the time. And so that was like a big, big fear for me that I had to overcome. And finally, I'm like, you know what? Just go for it. Who cares what somebody on the other side of a keyboard is typing in his mom's basement about me that I will never meet, probably.
No.
You know, so why should I care about what they think about me? I know who I am, and I'm confident with who I am, and I like who I am. So what does it matter what somebody else thinks, kind of thing? And so finally you hit record and you begin to make some content online, and you find that your message and your passion resonates with other people that have the same passion.
Yeah.
And you begin to get that feedback, like, man, I love what you do, Michael. I like these videos. Or, man, this video was super helpful in my home theater journey. Or, I learned this. I didn't know that, kind of thing. And when you get that feedback, you're like, dude, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's rewarding internally. And it makes you want to, create more and more content for your audience. And so that was just one of those things where Sean Cannell, I love watching his videos. He teaches you how to grow on YouTube. And Sean says, you just got to punch fear in the face and hit record.
Yep.
And that's really what I did. I'm just like, you know what, let's just go for it. And so now I don't really worry about what people think about me or my content. Of course, I look at feedback, and I was even engaging right before you got here with a guy that felt that one of my videos was it was too long-winded, and it was this and it was that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I will engage with people that don't think the same way that
Right.
I do. I'm cool with that. I'm not going to be one of those guys where I'm going to ban them, and unless they're not, if they were being like,
rude.
if they were
Very
being
rude.
horrible, like, especially if they do say something about my wife,
Yeah.
sexually or whatever,
Yeah, right.
you're banned. Forget that. But if you're just saying, Michael, your content sucks,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. You're entitled
Yeah.
to your opinion. I'm comfortable in who I am and what I provide to my audience. That I'm not concerned with that. But I'll engage with you, man.
Yeah.
Almost like
That's what's
I
up.
troll the troll. I don't know. But so
It's not even trolling. So it's because I had the exact same thing that you did. So I was like doing my thing. Then I joined a wrestling like website for a while, and they uploaded my interviews that I had done. And then that's when I started getting my first negative feedback from like people. But it wasn't even like the thing that hit me the hardest was kind of like what it was with you. It's nothing that you can do anything about.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like, oh, I'm just not a fan of this guy. And it's like, what? Like that's nothing. You're giving me nothing to work with there.
Yeah.
And then it's like your voice is too high pitched. I'm like, I'm Batman. Like what?
Yeah.
Like what do you? I was like, okay. So then you just have to overcome that, because you realize one of my favorite like movie speeches of all time is Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, when John Candy's talking to Steve Martin, and he's like, Steve Martin's just been giving him crap this whole time because John Candy's this big guy. He's like outgoing, very annoying, and then eventually he's just like, I like who I am, and people like love me and support me, and it's like, you don't have to change, and I don't have to change for you. And the fact that anyone thinks that they are entitled to have everything catered to them, it's like, you just have to let go of like people with that sentiment. Because even last night I was just talking to a drummer, Justin Headley. He's like from Pensacola. He plays with a guy like Damon Fowler, great band. They're amazing. But he was just talking about the freedom that comes with drumming. It's just like, eventually you just start playing for you.
right.
You start doing what makes you happy, and then that's how you achieve your peace. And that's all you owe yourself, really, is that peace. because you don't have to give anyone else there. You just have to do your thing.
Yep.
Like you're saying, he's saying you got to punch fear in the face, but it's literally like overcoming your fear on that, like that camera there. It's a push of a button away,
Yep.
and sitting down and talking, and just like giving yourself that freedom. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard.
It is.
It's like, I mean, that crushed me for a while, and then it's like one day you just make the connection. It's like, well, it's either I let them
Yep.
mess with you mentally, and you're miserable forever,
Yeah.
or you go, what are you gonna do? It's not for you, and then you move on, and you certainly engage.
Yeah.
It's like if someone makes a valid point, there's nothing wrong with a valid point.
Sure.
Any constructive criticism or semblance of it, it's like, okay. But if someone comes in, it's like, Michael, I noticed your editing was a little off here. It just isn't in line with my taste. It's like, okay. But then someone's like, man, that whack shirt just killed the vibe of the whole interview.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah. You can't value that opinion.
Yeah.
Like
if you chase after other people's approval for everything that you say and everything that you do, man, you'll never be satisfied.
Yeah.
You have to finally get to a point, and again, this goes back to my teenage years. I didn't begin to start getting comfortable with who I am and how I was created, and even the flaws and all, until probably high school.
Yeah.
But it's still been just a work in progress. But yeah, man, I make Sarah Dietschy. There's another great content creator. She says sometimes when she creates content, she says she calls it one for me and one for you. And so she'll make content for her audience because she knows they're interested in this. So for me, that would be home theater. But then there are going to be times that I just make a video for me. Like, this is just something I'm passionate about, something I want to share, my story or whatever. And so, again, you can't just cater to views. You can't just cater to exactly what your audience wants. But at the same time, you want to, I've been asking my audience, hey, how can I improve my home theater tours? So one thing I love doing is I'll go to somebody's house, kind of like me. I have a dedicated home theater. So I have a 150-inch diagonal screen. I've got theater seating. We've got acoustic treatment on the wall. We've got massive subwoofers behind the screen.
Yeah, look at sharp.
Yeah,
boy. This is an upgrade from when I was in high school. I used to watch some movies.
Yeah. So, I love that. And I love seeing how other people do it. So I will go to their home and I'll kind of do what you're doing. I'll interview them, ask them how they got into home theater and what are the things that they learned during the process of building a home theater. And it's one of those things where that content resonates with my audience because many of them are wanting to build a home theater and they're trying to get ideas on, should I go with 2 rows of seating? How high should my riser be? How high should my screen be? And those types of things. How big can I go in this room?
Right.
Being able to visualize that. I love sharing those stories, but I'm asking my audience, how can I make those better? And I got a lot of feedback from the Kansas City home theater tour that I did when I flew out to Kansas City, and I filmed 9 home theaters there in a 4-day period.
A nice number.
So it was quite busy and quite hectic, but I took the content from there and I took the feedback that I was getting on that tour, so each tour hopefully is getting better and better.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be. I have a blast watching those. I'm not even really into the home theaters or anything that much, but I have a time, like, I'll, just go watch them, and it's like, oh, subwoofers, how interesting. It's like, oh, of course you got to have the lining in the wall, because of course sound's going to escape from the door cracks. So you got to have that.
Right.
It's like, I don't know what I'm talking about or anything like that, but it's just like, oh, I mean, it's a nice theater. I was like, Infinity War would look great up there. Hardcore Henry would look great up there.
Spider-Man No Way Home's coming.
Oh,
It's going to be arriving soon, so I'll be watching that in here.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah, this is a nice, great little setup. And that's the thing too. It's you got to make the most of your space, I guess, in most of the sense.
Yes.
And I mean, you seem to do a great job with that.
Yeah, I've told everybody, I said, if you're passionate about movies and you're passionate about home theater, just what you're saying, make the most of what you have. If you've got a bedroom, I did one recently. A guy has a 12-foot by 13-foot bedroom, 120, either 120 or 130-inch screen, one row of seating, four, wall to
Okay.
wall. I mean, you can't even get behind the seats. It's
Oh.
just wall to wall. He has an 18-inch subwoofer up front built into the wall. It's called an infinite baffle. So the rear of it's sticking out in the next room in the bedroom to save space. He's
Right.
got in-wall speakers behind the screen like I do as far as the acoustic transparent screen. And then he's got two 15s in the back, you know, and that's in a bedroom. So the reality is I try to encourage and provide inspiration on my channel. If you're passionate about home theater, you can make it happen. You can have a
Right.
cool setup, whether it's a living room, a basement, you know, and you don't have to be a millionaire. I mean, I'm not anywhere near rich, you know. And there's some great ways that you can save and do things yourself, build your own acoustic panels, kind of stuff, and but just providing that inspiration for other people to see those videos and look at it and go, man, I think I could do that in my home.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of talking about inspiring people and things like that. I mean, that's, I think, one of the biggest, most important aspects of being alive.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I learned that personally from my parents because it's, I mean, two people who are really beloved through the community. And I see that importance of growth, like, over my span of life. People I remember from when I was little, I've seen them, like, and met them later on, seen the growth, and, like, they talk about the impact
Sure.
that they had. So, cannot underrate inspiration, especially dealing with even, I mean, you started with like teenager stuff
Sure.
like that, so clearly you see that importance.
Yeah.
But I mean, now you've changed the game a little bit, shifted that inspiration towards home theaters, things like that. But just as important in any aspect, everyone needs inspiration. So
Yeah.
how's that satisfaction kind of been for you to still be able to inspire,
Yeah.
even while going down this new route that
Yeah.
you're kind of following your heart with?
Yeah, so, excuse me. It's one of those things when you get that feedback from your audience. You know, when they're leaving a comment like, Michael, it's because of you that and your videos that I got back into home theater. Or when I saw this video, I realized I could do that in mine, and now I'm building out that. And it's just super cool, and it's really refreshing and really rewarding internally to know that you're making an impact on people. I've had people leave comments and say things like, you know, your videos are the best part of my day,
Right.
kind of thing. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah.
And that's just so cool because I try to be uplifting. I try to be encouraging. I try to be motivating, whether it's on home theater or on a personal level. And to know that my channel and my content and just my life is impacting other people. I had a guy, he tells me, he said, man, I'm a better person today because of you. From YouTube, you know, and it's like, I mean, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm talking about I'm talking about speakers, like physical speakers and subwoofers, but somehow my life, because I'm being real, because I'm being authentic, because I'm being genuine, I truly care about my audience. I care about them and their families more than just the equipment and stuff. I take an interest in them. And so I think that really translates, and they see that, and they realize that I'm the same on camera as I am off. When I come to somebody's house and I'm doing a home theater tour and I'm sitting down with a homeowner, you know, they'll often share with me kind of their experience with that. And they're like, dude, you're just as down to earth as you are in your videos. And I don't try to be the expert. I don't try to be the guy that knows everything. I'm just passionate home theater enthusiast that's trying to share my story, my experiences when a brand sends me a product and I get to review it. I just share from a consumer's perspective what I like about this, what features are really exciting to me, how does this make my life easier, or what are the areas that I think that product could improve. And that's good feedback even to the manufacturers that are watching the videos. They're like, oh man, our consumers value that. They want that. And so I get a chance to do that. But being an inspiration to somebody else, man, I want to get to the end of my life and know that my life mattered.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that my life isn't just centered around Michael Stevens and my family, I want to inspire guys like you. I
Right.
mean, think about it. You're wanting to do this, and I've had good conversations with you, and I'm like, Drew, do you want to try to grow this? And you're like, well, yeah. And so I'm trying to feed you and motivate you and share with you, like, okay, it's possible, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, if I can
100%.
do this, anybody can do it. Now, it takes a ton of work. It's
Right.
not, hit a button, make a video, upload, and the cash is just rolling in. That's not what it's about. It takes I've got 450 videos on my channel.
Yeah, you've
You
been
know?
grinding a bit. Well,
So-
how many of those are from the old days too?
Not a
Not that
ton,
many?
yeah,
Yeah.
because so back in, before 4 years ago, I've had my channel for probably
Right.
7 years.
Right.
But those first 3 years, I'd upload a video and it'd be on home theater. Then a month or 2 months later, it'd be a vacation.
Yeah.
Then, so it was so sporadic and random, and there wasn't any consistency to it.
So you put out that almost, let's say, at least 430.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So-
I would easily say that in the past 4 years.
Yeah, in the past 4.
So my goal when I said, okay, can I grow the channel? That was really my thought.
Right.
Can I grow the channel? It was almost like a challenge to me. Like, is this even possible for me?
Yeah.
And so I made a commitment to myself. I want to make one video a week because I was a full-time youth pastor. I had a part-time home business in graphic design and website development. So I had some clients that I was building websites for. And on top of that, I'm trying to build a YouTube channel. So realistically, one video a month or one video a week for me was even sometimes challenging, but I made that commitment and I kept that. I don't know if I ever really missed a week, but I always made one video. Sometimes if I could make a shorter video, I'd make another one.
Yeah.
But I would do one video a week. And then when I began to go full-time in 2020, I made a decision. I want to try to do 2 a week. And so even this week, I'm trying 3. And part of how I'm doing that is I have a home theater tour, which is a longer format video. It's close to 30 minutes, sometimes an hour long. Then I want to do a product review. So I've got some speakers out in the garage. I need to bring those in here, listen to them, share what I like and dislike about those and that experience. So that'll be another video. And then just, I think on Monday, I had a new idea. And it was basically make a video answering specific questions that I get in the comments. And so somebody
good
asked, somebody asked a question. Hey, Youthman, I'm trying to decide whether or not I should go with a projection screen or a big TV. And
I saw this.
So I shared my perspective and my experience and why I believe you just can't get the same experience watching a movie, even with a 77-inch or even an 80-inch TV. It's just not the same, I promise you.
Yeah.
When you've got a 150-inch diagonal, this screen is 12 foot wide, that's an experience. You cannot get that with a TV. I don't care how black the blacks are on an OLED. I don't care how beautiful the picture is. This is a gorgeous image. You can get a great image with a projector. And so that was only 6 minutes. I think it's 5 minutes and 30 seconds, something like that.
Yeah.
It took me an hour to film, edit, upload, make the thumbnail, everything. 1 hour.
Excellent. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I could do that weekly, and now I've added a third video to my weekly upload schedule, and it doesn't take a ton of time. Those would be easier to do. Hardest part is probably going to be finding those questions because I get,
Well, once you start asking, once you start asking, they'll roll in.
Yeah, so I did mention in the video, I'm like, hey, if you got questions, leave them, and I'll try to, I'll make content on those. And so now, as comments come in, I'm looking with that lens and that perspective of, oh, could I make a video out of that? Is this a question that more people have asked on my channel before? Is this something that is video worthy, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
And is that something that would benefit and inspire somebody else or teach them something? And it can just be short and sweet. It doesn't have to be long, drawn out. There's no intro. There's really no outro. It's just get to the meat of it.
Yeah.
And another thought there is by answering specific questions, and especially if they're basic questions, that now is bringing in people that are searching for those questions because YouTube is the second largest search engine on the planet.
Yeah.
Google being the first, and Google owns YouTube. And so if you look at it like a search engine, if people are searching for certain things, then they're going to find it, and hopefully they're going to find my content if they're asking those specific questions. So, so just creating consistent content, that's been a huge, probably part of my journey, going from 1 video a week to now almost 3 videos a week.
Yeah, I mean, that dedication's going to be the most important aspect, but we're talking about questions being asked and stuff. So what exactly was it that kind of happened back there with the purple? So, yeah, when we were talking, I saw smoke coming from back there, and I thought it was... So, like, I'm not used to all these big lights and stuff. I was like, oh, well, I mean, it's probably burning so bright. It's, like, putting a little something in the air. I was like, maybe it's some dust. I don't know. It's not too dusty in here. Seems to be...
My wife kicked on the heat. I smelled it, too. I was like, I smelled something, but we were in an interview, so I didn't want to...
Yeah, right.
I didn't want to ruin it. And so after we cut, I was like, did you smell that? You're like, yeah, I smelled that. I'm like, what was it? I walked back there and the light's on. I'm like, I think I just fried the lights. So, just literally, so you guys probably saw at the beginning, we got this cool background, and then it just, bloop, it's gone, and then you might have saw the smoke rise. So that's pretty funny.
I was like, yeah, but I was like, I don't, there's no, I didn't, my thought process, I was like, all right, so it's either something on my glasses or it's just bright because I see something moving.
Yeah.
But I'm like, worst case, we'll hear an alarm. So it's like, if an alarm triggers, it's like, okay, this is problematic.
Yeah.
But
that's part of it too. There are times that I've been on shoots, filming, and the microphones just whack. It starts acting up and popping or whatever, and you just gotta figure and work through that, and that's part of that journey too, man. So a lot of times I'll have extra. I don't have another light, so I'll be ordering a light since we're done with this.
Warranty, I hope.
Who knows? Maybe, but I don't know.
Do you know who you're talking to right now? This is Youthman. This is.
I have no clout, man. No clout.
Nah, I mean, you're not the person to use it anyways. I mean, that's what you're talking about. It's all uplift, all trying to be as positive as possible. But, I mean, talk about inspiration, stuff like that. I mean, it's super important. Like, talking with you kind of helped me get back into this game a bit.
Good.
Then, like, there's other people. Like, someone I actually talked to initially, like, way back in the beginning, his name is Mark Merrow. He's a wrestler, but... became motivational speaker, goes to works with the youth kind of like you did. He goes to a lot of middle school, stuff like that, warns about addiction, and the importance of like just really love and all encompassing, like being appreciative of your family. Tell a story about like his mom like passing and like the regrets that you'll have if you don't treat them with like respect and like loving kindness, things like that. So it's a good message. Just encourages people to be more uplifting, and that's the thing too, because like he does a lot of social media work, and you're talking about being inspiring and stuff. And when you look at social media, its immediate thought process is like that's like garbage. You're wading through trash and just like never ending like an oil spill of dumb comments and like angry people, but you can wade through it, and I try to tell people it's just another tool.
Yes,
you can still use it in a certain way and get what you need out of it, because it's like I learned a couple years ago, just don't engage with anybody hateful online. Like nothing can come. There's no productivity that comes from trying to engage with that hatred.
Yeah.
It's all about like nourishment and like uplifting and like giving your hand to a fellow man or giving animals some little scratches, a little love, rubbing the tree bark a little bit, enjoy the breeze. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And
I look at social media like a brick. So you can take a brick, and a brick is amoral. It's neither good nor bad.
Yeah.
You take a brick and you put it in the hand of a criminal, and he's going to do something destructive with it.
Right.
He's going to break a window. He's going to smash a car with it. But you take that same brick and put it in the hand of, say, a builder. He could build a hospital. He could build an orphanage. He could build a pregnancy care center. He can do a lot of things that are really, really good. Same thing with social media. Social media can be that destructive, toxic, kind of brick, but you put it in the hand of a content creator like yourself that desires to uplift, to encourage, to inspire, and that takes a whole new form.
Yeah, 100%, and it's just something, and I really talk about it all the time. It's almost being like a dead horse for me, like, cause I bring it up with people all the time, but it's just so important. I mean, to really kind of hammer that home, because you just never know when you're gonna get that inspiration,
Yeah.
and something's just gonna click. And I mean, life's just a journey.
Yeah.
You just every day flows, never ending, and someday, somewhere along the line, things shift, and they'll just shift in such a way that something resonates, and when it does, it's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah, I look at, you mentioned the journey. This whole thing has been just a crazy journey for me. I didn't plan this. I didn't expect it. But I always tell people, I don't need to know where, and again, faith is a huge part of my journey and who I am and at the core. But I always tell people, I don't have to know where God is leading me. I just need to know where he's at right now. And I just try to stay close to him. And so that journey for me, man, I don't know, there's some exciting stuff that we've been working on with the channel, a new event that we're putting together. I was sharing with you earlier. I don't know anything about that, but I'm willing to just take a step. And so in life, I encourage people, man, I don't want to get to the end of my life and look back and go, man, I wonder what could have been if I would have been brave enough to try this, whatever that is. Maybe you've been in a career path for 15, 20 years and you're like, I'm just no longer feeling it,
Right.
Like I'm passionate about something else, but I'm scared to take that step and leave this comfy, safe job to possibly try to pursue my own business or, something like that, or start a new career in a totally different career path. And that's scary for people to take those steps. But in that journey, it's like, dude, I always think back to nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah.
I don't want to risk it all. Now that's kind of
not putting the house down on
No,
this
no, no,
event
no.
to fund everything.
And it would be dumb.
Do or die, baby. Do or sink or
It would have
swim.
been dumb for me 4 years ago when I had 900 subscribers to say to my wife, hey, Jessica, I'm quitting my job and I'm going full in on YouTube, man. That would have been stupid, okay? I busted my butt. I had multiple jobs, growing the channel simultaneously until I got to a point to where I felt, okay, now we could sustain, the income there is sustainable to provide for our family's needs. But by going all in, I can grow it even faster than what it's been growing, kind of thing. But I love the journey, man.
Yeah.
And I tell people in home theater, don't worry about the end goal of having a dedicated room with this size screen and this. Enjoy the journey. And I say that a lot. Enjoy the process. Enjoy those upgrades over time. Don't be scared to build your home theater over a 10-year period, because it's never really finished anyway.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm always going to
Statue collector. I mean, it's always something changing.
There's
man.
always something out there that you're going to want or you want to upgrade to, but just enjoy that, man. Enjoy that whole process. Enjoy the journey. Yeah, man, it's been cool.
Yeah, appreciation and being able to enjoy, I think, is the biggest things to, like, one of the biggest things, because it's like, we were talking about it, I was kind of talking with you earlier. It's like, everybody has like a philosophy. You can kind of take a little bit from someone.
Sure.
But it's the biggest thing is learning to enjoy it. So like, if you're someone who's very, like, say, frugal, you don't like to spend any money or anything like that, but you also have a lot saved up. It's almost like, what are you going to do with all that if you're not allowing yourself, you're giving yourself that ability to, say, like, go on that trip. I mean, you haven't gone on a trip in 15 years because it's always like, well, something could happen. It's like, sure, put something aside, saved up for emergencies, but if you're not experiencing life, then why are you, I mean, obviously not morbid, it's like, why are you living? Like, you shouldn't live, but it's like, you're in some ways kind of wasting an opportunity every day to go see something new. But this is gonna take a little bit of a morbid route when I say this real quick. But it was something I was thinking of when you said it. He was like, I don't want to look back in life and think like what could have been.
Yeah.
Like I was watching this like documentary, like interviews with a serial killer, and he was talking to psychologists, and they were like putting down his frame of mind. And so the psychologist was like, oh, well, you have this type of mindset, blah, blah, blah. People with this mindset generally can either go down your route, or they said, or they get, a lot of people are daredevils.
Yeah, it was a
they,
choice. Yeah.
they go into sports.
Yeah.
They do weightlifting, or they do high-end like trading, or and then like but you look at this guy and like this man's a serial killer. Like he killed people without remorse. But you see like this glimmer like in his eyes.
That he could have
yeah,
been.
and like he sees it within himself like so
Wasted
late.
potential.
Yeah, and it's just like wow, like there were so many possibilities that I never even saw. And it's like every day that cuz that was my big thing. I was like oh, I can't feel like I'm feeding into either it's like you know, you're not there's so many people that they're better than you or there's so many people that may not like it and you put all these a lot of the time people put roadblocks in front of themselves and they try to blame that outside influence but if you're the one allowing it to affect you it's comes down to, and that's it's a hard thing to kind of get over that because it's a lot of you really have to get into your headspace and kind of evaluate things and kind of like what you did you sat down you're like like is this what I want to do and so it's not like it's though it's an easy decision or anything like that but it's a necessity if you truly want to achieve that and take that next step. I mean something you have to do. You have to see your own potential inside of you and kind of step over that. And that seems to be really the case I talk with everybody too. Like I've talked with a general from the that was a general in the Vietnam War and he was my college professor, so I've talked with him and he's always like he tells a story about when he's in Vietnam and he went on like a trail like for vacation. It's like everyone thinks that it's because when you get to the end, it's going to be some big party or something. Yeah. But it's just like a little village, and you just go in and you enjoy yourself, and then it's all about the journey because you go down this long road, you see the beautiful scenery, and it's that appreciation settles in. Like, oh, I had a great time, and you're talking about enjoying it in the moment. Yeah. You got to learn to do that.
Sure. Got to make the best of it. And I'm one of those guys where, you know, whether it's with home theater or anything or your job, if you don't like what you're doing, go for something else, man.
Right.
Go for something else. You know, I think life is way too short to be miserable. I think life is way too short to not pursue your dreams. If there's something out there that you want to do, figure out a way to make it happen, man.
Right.
I try to encourage people that all the time because they're stuck in a job that they don't like. And I'm like, well, why are you there? Why would you waste 60, 70, 80 years of your life building up somebody else's business? I mean, there's nothing wrong with being an employee.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody
Nothing wrong with doing what you like.
Yeah. I don't think everybody needs to be their own boss. I know guys, plenty of guys that they started a business and they're terrible at running a business.
Yeah.
You know, they would be a better employee. So I'm not saying everybody needs to go that route. But if that's your passion and that's your desire, man, figure out a way to do it, you know? And nobody's teaching me how to do this, but I'm figuring out a way to do it anyway.
Yeah. You've also, we were talking about your theater game, of course. You're building up your channel, things like that, going out and seeing theaters. When did that part come about? So, because I guess originally that's not really what you were kind of looking for. You're just looking to review products, stuff like that. Then this opportunity opened up for you. So, how did that kind of grow, and where has that taken you since?
Okay, cool. That's like I think it's pretty funny. Not funny, but it's interesting. So, 4 years ago, I reached out to. I wasn't even trying to grow a channel. I wasn't trying. It kind of happened naturally. Clips, which is a brand of speaker. I have owned a lot of their speakers over the years. And so I had version 1 and version 2 in my own home. So I had version 1 in the living room, and Jacob, my son, had I had version 2, he had version 1.
You definitely rubbed off on him.
Yeah, so Dad hooked him up with some cool speakers. So I had reached out to Klipsch when I found out they were coming out with a version 3, and I said, hey, I'm in a unique opportunity. I've got 1 and 2. People are asking in the Facebook groups and in the forums, because I was a moderator of the Klipsch forum as well, and everybody was wanting to know, how does 1 compare to 2 compared to 3? I've got 1, should I upgrade to 3? Or I've got 2, is it going to be a significant difference? And so I said, I've got a unique opportunity. I can put each one of those side by side in my living room and show them physically. Here's the size differences. Here's, here's how they sound, because they're going to sound different. Here's the improvements that 3 offers over the 2 and the 1. And I said, would you be interested in sending me a pair for me to make some content on? And they said, we love the idea. And I'm like, you do? Yeah. These are $3,000 speakers. And I was like, this is kind of weird. I didn't know there was such thing as a reviewer, and I wasn't even trying to be a reviewer. So they sent them to me. I made a video on it, and it was searchable, okay? People were searching for that version of speakers because they were wanting to know, does anybody have any information on these new speakers? Well, I happened to be the only one that had them. So I began to see I had more views in the first couple days than I did in previous videos over like a month kind of thing. So I'm like, what's going on here? So I made a second video and a third. I made 15 video, either 10 or 15 videos on just those pair of speakers.
Oh, really? Wow.
I did it.
Yeah, you're milking your content out there.
That's all I had to go by. So I had I did an unboxing, and then I did, okay, here's a size comparison. Here's an audio demo. Here's, a bunch of different things. Are these good for home theater? All kinds of stuff. So when I began to see the growth of the channel, I'm like, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. People are searching for these products because they're brand new on the market. Well, SVS is a subwoofer company mostly at that time. So I reached out to them and said, hey, Klipsch just sent me their flagship speaker. Would you be interested in sending me your flagship subwoofer? I've heard great things about them. I've just never personally heard them. Here's my channel, here's my content. And I was small back then. I mean, I might have had, I don't know, maybe 1,000, 2,000 subscribers. It wasn't a lot.
Right.
And they said, we'd love to. And I'm like, you would? These are $2,500 subwoofers. So they began sending me a single subwoofer, and then a double subwoofer, and then 4 subwoofers, and then 2 towers and a center channel. So I had a bunch of their stuff. And so I made content on those. Again, I began to see the channel grow, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. People are actually searching for these. They're finding my content. They like the style that even though my videos, and this is something, again, Sean Cannell says, your first videos are your worst videos. They were trash. They were garbage. I didn't have any lighting. I didn't have a microphone like we do now. I just started with what I had, and that's important in any online content creation. Use what you've got. Use your cell phone.
Right. Yeah. Over
time, as your channel grows and as your business grows, then invest back into it, kind of thing. Because last thing you want to do is buy a $5,000 camera, which I've got.
Yeah.
Lighting and all this and tripods, and then 2 months later go, I'm not feeling it. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I was there and invested in it mentally before I went and invested in it financially. And so I just began to reach out to other brands. Hey, Parasound, I've reviewed these. Here's some results. Here's the views, and here's the watch time. Would you be interested in sending me yours? And so that just began a cycle of review after review after review after review from a bunch of different brands. And then occasionally I would just have somebody that I would see on Facebook, and I would find out that they're in Tampa. And I'm like, and they had a home theater. And most of the home theaters that I had initially reviewed were like living room setups. And, they may have a TV, but they've got some cool speakers and subwoofers. And so I would go to their home and just let them share about their home theater. So I did a handful of those, and over time, I began to do more of those. And then I had an opportunity where a brand was willing to fly me out. I reviewed a pair of their subwoofers, and I told the owner, I said, Jeff, I love your subwoofers, but I would love to hear your speakers one day. I hear great things about those. He's like, we can make that happen, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean you can make that happen? He's like, I'd fly you up here. I'm thinking he would pay to fly me up there. So he paid to fly me up there. I made 3 videos. I made one at his headquarters, so we got to see kind of behind the scenes, like,
Oh, that's awesome.
this is how they make them, or this is, all that stuff, what goes into making their speakers and their crossovers and things like that. So that was kind of a cool experience. And then I went to 2 other home theaters that featured his products, 2 of his customers, and I did home theaters there. So when I came home from that trip, one of the gentlemen that I did the home theater tour on, he said, "Hey, Michael, if you want to do more of this, we have a group in Wisconsin and Illinois that we meet monthly." So we would go, like 1 month would be at my house, and we would just have some local guys over and have some snacks, and we'd do some demos and talk about home theater. And then maybe the next month we're going to your house,
Right.
checking out your home theater. And then the next month, Bob's or whoever. He said, we have this network of people that I could align it to where if you flew up over a short, 4-day period, 2, 3, 4, whatever, we could hit a bunch of these and you'd have a lot of content. And I love doing home theater tours. And so I flew up there. I made 12 home theater tours. I filmed those in 4 days. It was insane. 4 stinking day. It was crazy. I'll never do that again. We didn't know because we'd never done it.
Right.
We'd never done a tour of a bunch of them all in one area. So that was crazy. We'd get up at 5:30 in the morning. We wouldn't get to bed until 1 the next morning. Turn around and do it all over again.
Living the rock star life. Look at you. Yeah.
No, it was horrible. But I produced a ton of content. It gave me a good idea of, wait a minute, I've been doing like if I went to your home, in my brain, that was a home theater tour because we're touring your home theater. But I had never thought of the concept of doing a physical tour of going from one home theater to the next. So since then, I've done one in Wisconsin, Illinois. So that was kind of a general area because it's kind of close to the dividing line between those 2 states. So I did one there with 12. A couple months later, the same guy, he said, "Hey, I know some guys in Kansas City. They've got some crazy home theaters. I could get you connected with them and maybe they'd want to do the same thing." So I flew up to Kansas, so on my own dime, flew up there, and there were 9 that we filmed in 4 days.
Phew.
So that was better though.
Yeah.
That's like 2 a day, and then one day we had 3. So I'm like, okay, that's doable, man. That's definitely long days, but you got to enjoy it more than being just a job. I got that chance to just hang out and check out their setup. So then I come back home, and I didn't really have another state to go to. So I had already created my website, hometheatertours.com. And so the thought there was on my channel, I would say, hey guys, if you like these types of videos and maybe you've got a cool home theater, go to my website, hometheatertours.com, fill out the form, and I would get their information, where they're located, photos of their equipment and their room. And I would reach out to the brands that are represented in that home theater. Maybe their screen company or maybe their theater seats company, and say, hey, here's a cool home theater in Texas. Would you be willing to sponsor that video so that basically I could afford to fly out there and do that? Because the reality, my channel isn't massive.
Yeah.
So for me to do a home theater tour, even if I got 50,000 views or 100,000 views, you're not talking about big money. I mean, it's decent, but it's not like, okay, that would have covered my flight kind of thing, So it's not a...
Still business aspect.
Yeah, you got to figure out how to make this thing work financially. So partnering with brands has been huge. And it makes sense to partner with the brands that are represented in those home theaters.
Right, yeah.
So when I came back from those 2 trips, I said, well, what if I just did a Florida home theater tour? So that's the one I'm currently in.
A little easier for you.
So now I'm doing that in Florida. I've got 22 lined up.
Sure, there you go.
People that have submitted. But I've done 2 in Tallahassee. It's a 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is I found a brand that was represented up there, and they paid for me to be able to make that. So it's like, okay, cool. Now we're showing and I'll do like a 20 to 30 second ad at the beginning for that brand, Before we get into the home theater tour, here's a word from today's sponsor, Silver Ticket, and it's a screen company that's represented in that home theater tour.
Okay.
So that's funding and helping me to make these possible. So I've got about 7 of those lined up that are sponsored. So So I'm focusing on filming those first. But that's where the business aspect, and again, nobody's teaching us how to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you charge for that, you know? And then my thought is, okay, if a company, a brand, like let's say Valencia Theater Seating, that's the brand that's here. If
Very comfy.
Yeah, I love it. So let's say there's a home theater in Miami
Mm-hmm.
that's got Valencia Theater Seating, and it's a cool home theater. So I'd reach out to Valencia. It's like, what do you even charge for that, you know? And what I kind of came up with was, if Valencia wanted to hire a videographer, you know, to go down to this location to film, and then to upload it to a channel that's primarily in home theater. Like, that's who my audience is. They subscribe because they like home theater. So it's a very targeted audience. What would that possibly be worth to a brand? And I kind of came up with a number on that. And so brands are going, yeah, that's totally fair. You know, and so now I'm able to travel, and it makes it worth my time if I have to drive or even fly down to Miami for the day, film a home theater, and then come back, edit that video, upload it to my channel. So that's kind of where the home theater tours, and again, I didn't see that going into it. It just kind of naturally progressed to this. And so the cool thing with your channel is you're trying different things. I mean, you're even interviewing somebody that, I'm not a wrestler. I watched wrestling, you know, when I was young with my grandfather, absolutely, you know, back in Dusty Roads. And
oh, heck, I met him too. I was very fortunate.
Yeah, that was my, you know, those guys were, that was the jam.
Haystacks Calhoun, I don't know if he would have been there.
No.
Yeah, that might have been a little bit before your time.
Yeah, no, it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, okay, so you're still getting Hacksaw.
Rick Rhodes, that kind of, I guess, time frame. So, but you're going to find with your channel, it'll evolve, and it may change on either, definitely like my style, the way I edit videos, the way I present, camera lighting, all that stuff changes. But even the format or what you do may change, but you never know what you're going to be passionate about until you just try something.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for your channel, dude, because I know that there's so much potential on social media, and I believe everybody has an audience. And, you know, everybody has like things that they're passionate about or skilled or have knowledge or experience. And there are people that want to know that. And so you connecting with people in, whether it's wrestling or on a content creator on YouTube, and just kind of picking their brain and interviewing them, you know, that shares value to your audience. And so I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see what happens with your channel and watch that grow over time. Because I've seen it personally. If you're willing to put in the effort, you can absolutely grow your brand and your business, and at the same time, man, do what you're passionate to do.
100%. And like, yeah, it's the realizing that potential for growth, I think, is one of the hardest things, because I think in a lot of times in life, and not everyone's affected by it, but like there's almost like you're told to have this humbleness. And then for some people, I think they took that a little bit too far, because I think I did that too, to where you like downplay what you're even able to contribute. Yeah. But it's, I mean, it's just excellent. Like what you're saying, there's just so much ability to grow. And I mean, we've seen just with your channel, that's been awesome to watch too, because it's, you know, I remember like talking with like Jacob and like other people whenever you were kind of like you're talking about being a youth pastor, you're kind of like, you know, it's just like, I like helping people and stuff like that, but my heart's just not there.
Yeah,
like,
the heart was changing, and I didn't even know it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just, so it's kind of, it's nice for you to be able to have found something else with like so much growth and stuff like that. But
you had mentioned about the humble part. I think, yes, you know, I look at myself, I'm just an everyday average guy.
Yeah.
Nothing special, nothing fancy about me. I'm just sharing my story, my experiences. But from a business side of it, I know my value. I know that when I make a video, you know, if a company chooses to send me a product to review, more than, I mean, if it's a decent product, that company's going to get some sales out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, prime example, Valencia sent me a set of theater seats, Not even these, but the first set of theater seats.
Wow.
Actually, it was that row back there. So they
Oh,
sent me
okay.
those. That was 2 years ago. That was really
Those are the ones that I've sat in.
that was the first brand that reached out to me. Usually I'm reaching out to them saying, hey, would you be interested in letting me review your product? So they reached out to me. They said, hey, Michael, love your content. We're a company in Canada. Could we send you some theater seats? And at first I was thinking, gosh, man, theater seats are big and bulky. And what am I going to do with my row? And so if they send me 3 of them, now I got to store them in my garage. And what am I going to do with that? And they said, oh, by the way, after the review, you can keep them. And I looked back at my seats. And at that time, they were like 13-year-old seats, man, because I bought them used.
Right.
And I'm like, that would be cool. So I'm like, okay. So they sent me the seats. And the reality is, if they send them to me, it's going to cost them quite a bit to send back to Canada.
Sunk cost there.
And then it's like they can't sell them used because they're not a used company. So what do we do with them then? So it's smart on their part. So they let me keep them. And so
you got a customer out of you.
I made a review on it, 1 review. And they're like, Michael, your video did so well. We'd love to send you another row. So they sent me a second row. And then later on, they said, Jacob's got a single chair at his
I was going to
house.
say,
So
spread the love.
I've done 4 videos for them, just 4. And I just checked the other night. They have sold $300,000 in theater seats because I made 4 videos. And I'm not trying to convince anybody to buy anything. My whole plan is, here's the seats. Here's what I love about them, man. I love just the softness of the leather. I love the fact I got deep, pockets in here that I've got, places to put my little, so I just
your cell phone.
Yeah. So or your tablet. So I just talk about what I like and what I don't like. I don't like the fact that when I turn on the light and I recline, the light shines up on my screen.
Right.
But fortunately, you can turn that off. So things like that. And I just share from a customer's perspective. And if that's something you're interested in, I'll have links to it down in the description below. That's all I do.
Right.
I'm not trying to convince somebody, hey, you need to get these.
Yeah, you're not a salesman.
No.
That's the review aspect.
Yeah. I just want to share the good, the bad, the ugly. Here's what they are. If it's a good fit for you, hey, I've got links to it. And those are affiliate links. So I'll get a small commission off of that. So that's how Amazon affiliates work. So like if a content creator makes a video and they say, hey, we're talking about this Canon camera that I'm using. If you want one, I've got a link to it down in the description. Well, if you click on the link and if you go buy the product, then you may get a small 2, 3, 4% commission, maybe. Usually it's pretty minimal. But over time, you get enough people that click on the links and buy stuff, then you'll make a little bit. So that's definitely been part of that, but so it started off reviews and then it kind of changed from there. So, but you don't know where it's going to go until you just try it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're just talking about commissions. It's like, oh, it's minimal. Certainly adds up. I was literally talking to somebody yesterday, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Of course, that's on a different level, but I mean, it's still applicable.
Yeah.
He makes 6 cents for every dollar of a Jordan product sold.
Yeah.
You're making millions, not even doing anything. Like, that's
called passive income.
Yes, exactly. So and I mean, that's the dream. You have one.
So once you've made, like for me, once I've made the video, that video stays live forever on my YouTube channel.
Right.
And if people find it and if they watch it and if they click on the links and, so there's residual income every single month that's truly passive income at that point. Now, making the videos takes a lot of time. When I do a home theater tour, it'll take me, I'll spend 5 hours at their home. We'll spend the first hour just hanging out and demoing, and then I'll spend about 4 hours filming.
Okay.
Because I've got to film this right here, the talking head. Then I've got to film the B-roll, which is kind of me overlaying as we're talking about the subwoofers. Now I've got close-up video of those subwoofers and so forth. So that takes 5 hours. Then I come home and I edit for usually about 10 hours is what it takes me to do a home theater tour. And then even once the video's done, there's a lot of other things that go into it. Doing the affiliate links, you have to create the description, you have to create a thumbnail, you have to add your end card and all these other things that are kind of the technical side of it. So there's a ton of time that goes into this. And if you're just doing it for fun, a lot of times it doesn't matter. You're not concerned with how the video looks and doing this and adding this and that, but it's like, okay, this is who I am, this is my brand, and I want to represent well to the brands that I partner with. So I want to make some really quality videos.
Right.
I want my audio to be good. I want my lighting to be good. I want my B-roll to be good. I want the overlays and the animations to be nice and so forth. And so I really take pride in that because that's a representation of my brand and what I stand for and kind of what I can bring to the table when you're talking about partnering with brands and knowing your value. And so I know that when I make a video, ultimately they're either going to get some exposure, which that's a given, or they're probably going to make some money, or they're going to get some new customers. So, and even if it's not now, at least it's branding. Their product and their brand is now in front of my audience, so that when somebody 5 years down the road, or 2 years down the road, or 6 months down the road, they're building their home theater, they go, wait a minute, there was that, Michael made that video on some seats. They go back to the video, oh, Valencia, that's right. Those were cool. I'd love to have those, So you never know what that road's going to lead, but just trying to figure out what you're worth. There's that balance, like we were talking about earlier. Yes, I'm humble, but I also know the value I can bring to a brand because I can see my stats. I can see when I did this, this happened, and I share that with these brands continually to say, hey, look, here's why you would want to partner with me. Here's why you would want to sponsor a video. Here's why you would want to send me your product, and I can physically show them some of the ROI, the return on investment for them, whether it's them sending me a product and they just cover shipping both ways, which is typically what happens with a review. Or if a brand chooses to send me something and let me keep it, like the theater seats. Or if they send me something and they pay me to make a video. Now, one thing I don't do is I don't do paid reviews.
Okay.
So if a brand says, hey, how much do you charge for a review? $0, okay? Because it's a really
impartiality.
It's a huge conflict of interest. If a brand pays me X amount of dollars, let's just say they pay me $1,000 to review their product, okay? Am I more likely to say nice things and maybe not talk about the negative things that I found if they paid me? So I don't do that. But what I will do is if a brand wants to pay me for additional videos, let's say I have a receiver, so I review the receiver, but maybe if they were willing to pay me for 2 more videos, one video is going to be a setup, going through all the menus. What happens when you change this? Maybe there's a calibration video. So those are things that I normally wouldn't make videos on. And so that's extra time, that's extra editing, that's extra all that stuff. So I'm okay with a brand paying me to teach somebody how to use their product. Or in the case with the home theater tours, that totally cool because it makes sense. A brand is paying me to be able to go and film and edit and kind of showcase their product in, and how that customer had used that product in their home theater. And so being able to partner with those brands, I know the value of that, and I know the value that my channel brings to them.
So we've been talking a lot about home theaters, music, stuff like that, kind of throughout kind of your trajectory through all this. But so you said that you fell in love with kind of home theaters, things like that at a young age. But did you fall in love with the home theater aspect, or was it the movies kind of connected to it? Were there any movies that you remember watching that were kind of like led to your like love of the eventual like quality and like theatrical aspect of it, or is it always just like, oh, I want big speakers, I want big TV? Well, you don't even have a TV. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I've never had a big TV. I've never had a 70, 80-inch TV.
You don't even have cable either.
No, we don't.
Jake would always told me it's like.
Yeah, we don't have cable either. Yeah, so for me, it probably is always. It started off as music. Okay, so ever since I was a teenager, I always had speakers. I had like a little Iowa system in the bedroom, and then I got some floor standing speakers from oh man, I forget what the brand they were, but they had like a 12-inch woofer in them. So now we've got bass in the bedroom.
Okay.
That was cool. And then I had speakers, subwoofers in my car. I had two 12s. And so I always was interested in music. And then probably like one of the first movies that I remembered, like, oh my goodness, that kind of really impacted me was Top Gun.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It's like excited for that sequel. I see one.
Yeah, literally when I saw Top Gun, I was ready to enroll in the military because I wanted to be a fighter pilot.
Right.
And I actually was talking to recruiters and everything. And the short version of that is the two recruiters from Navy and Air Force lied to me to get me to sign up. They said, yeah, we'll put you in a jet. I go talk to the Army recruiter, even though I wasn't interested. He's like, hey, son, come here. I'm like, nah, you guys have helicopters. I'm like, I want fast jets. I just saw Top Gun. You know?
Yeah, right.
And he said, son, he said, they're lying to you. He said, they will not be able to put you in a jet because let's say you're in a fight and, you know, a bullet comes through, hits your glasses, shatters them or knocks them on the ground or in the cockpit. How are you going to land that plane? Dude, I couldn't land the plane. I wouldn't be able to see the instruments.
Yeah, that's what I was
going to...
going
And it clicked. I was like... And so my dreams were shattered. And I'm like, oh, man. But that was probably one of those movies that, like, really impacted me.
Okay.
And I loved the action. And so the cool thing was with that movie is that had a lot of surround sound. We called it surround sound back
jets.
then. You know, and you'd hear it come over the top or... You'd hear it pan left or right, and then the bass, when the afterburners kick in, you're like, dude, this is cool. So then I began to kind of go down that direction, and I even worked at Circuit City for a while.
Oh, wow, look at that.
That was my first like home theater setup because I was able to get it at 60% discount.
That's what's up.
So I got Polk audio speakers, and I got a Velodyne subwoofer. And so that kind of began my home theater journey. And that was back when Dolby Pro Logic was introduced. So that was the first kind of surround sound format for the most part with some discrete channels. You had a left, a center, a right, and then you had two surround speakers. And then you'd put a little subwoofer for the bass. And so I had that in my home. And so that kind of fueled I just love that. It's not maybe even the movie, it's what I get out of the movie, the experience, and how when you create an environment in a home theater like this, it allows you to kind of be a part of the movie instead of watching a movie.
Right.
You know, when you have a small TV, I always feel like I'm looking at the TV versus when you're in here and you're in it, dude, you feel like you're in the TV. You're in that motion picture. You're in that car scene. You're in that explosion. And that's really what I love creating. And so with my setup, I've got 7 speakers on the bottom, 3 speakers up front, 2 on the sides, 2 on the rears. But then I've also got 4 ceiling speakers. So that is what they call Dolby Atmos. So it creates this bubble of sound all around you. And the sound mixers can put speakers in specific, or not speakers, but they can put objects from the movie in specific locations. And they can pan them around the room. And so when there's a scene in Mad Max where at the beginning this girl's whispering, she's like, hello. Yeah. And you hear it, and it's like kind of bouncing from different speakers. And there's a movie, Gravity, where he's in space and or Sandra Bullock is flipping, and so as she's flipping and he's over here talking, his position is fixed, but because she's spinning, that sound is now traveling through different speakers, and being able to recreate that and to be able to have a something like A Quiet Place, man.
Oh,
that's a trippy movie, and you get a home theater, and when that creature comes and he's climbing up upstairs, and you know specifically he's upstairs right there, and you hear him walk from that speaker to here, man. And then he starts walking down the steps, and now my subwoofers are kicking in every time he steps, and he comes down. So that's what I love about home theater, is that you can create a space that either equals or even rivals a lot of local cinemas, and you have total control of it. You got nice theater seats if you want. I can hit pause. My wife can go to the bathroom, or we can go get a snack, or you don't have to worry about somebody talking. If they were talking, get out of my house.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my time.
No kids running around.
Yeah.
Kids running around literally ruined my
Sure.
experience
Yeah.
for Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Like, literally, they were sprinting the room,
Yeah.
or like around the room. It's like, can I kick him out? I was like, can't. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've watched quite a few movies here.
Yeah.
Very fortunately, I've been very blessed. Yeah, I sure know how to pick the friends, right?
Yeah, that's good.
But
you don't need to have your own theater. You just need to have a friend that has a home
yeah,
theater.
exactly.
Let them pay for all this
Yeah,
stuff.
100%. But it's like, oh man, seeing like Hacksaw Ridge up here on this screen. I saw one that really stood out was It Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Because the cinematography and the
Beautiful.
camera cut.
Gorgeous.
Yes. Oh, it's so underrated. I'm so surprised that it doesn't get more acclaim because it has some of the best camera edits and cuts that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
My jaw would open when I was watching. When he they go through the doorway, it opens through the sky and it pulls through. But yeah, whenever like you're here, the head with the spider, and you hear everything.
All the
It's
detail. You hear where it's happening on screen. You've got this big immersive image. You've got comfortable seating. I love it, man.
Have you ever gotten any complaints from the neighbors or anything like that?
Everybody, people always say that. They're like, "Oh, I bet your neighbor hates you." No,
Yeah.
my neighbors actually love me. Like, I have
Surprised that anyone could love you.
I have a good relationship with my neighbors, and it all comes down to respect.
Right.
The very first thing, as I begin to build out my home theater and add and expand and put bigger subwoofers, I have 4 18s behind my screen.
Why don't you emphasize how big that is for people who don't understand?
18 inches, you know? So in your car, so this is about a 5.5-inch woofer. So in your car speakers, they're about that big.
Okay.
So you need bigger speakers to move a lot of air.
Big room.
To be able, well, not even so much the big room. It's if you want to feel the impact of as John Wick when he pulls the trigger in the shotgun scene, and you want to feel that, you need big. You got to move a lot of air.
Right.
So to move a lot of air, you need big subwoofers. And so I have 4 18s, and they're literally this big. They weigh 210 pounds each, and I have 2 of them.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. And then on top of that, I have, and I'll show you a picture here just so you can kind of see what's behind my screen. I have 3 tower speakers, a left speaker, a center speaker, and a right speaker. And each one of those have 2 12-inch speakers. So I have 6 12s and 4 18s. So where it comes down to respect is I just told my neighbors from the beginning, if it's ever bothering you and if it's ever too loud, do not hesitate to text me or call me and say, "Hey, Michael, we're trying to get the kids to sleep," or "Hey, whatever." I'll gladly turn it down because I'm not going to be that jerk, okay? I respect and I love my neighbors. I've never once received a call.
Okay.
And not even too long ago, I said, "Hey, have I ever bothered you?" They said, "Honestly, every once in a while we can hear just a little bit, the bass, but not a big deal."
Yeah.
It's not like I've got these speakers out in my yard and they're blasting into their home. They're in my room, and it's a normal room. I didn't do any isolation to keep the sound in here. We just have pretty well built homes, and they're insulated pretty well.
Right.
But
I mean, that's obviously its own muffler.
it comes down to respect and just caring about people and
it's not hard to do.
Nah, just takes a little bit of effort. So, but no, they've never once complained.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, yeah, good. Because you're fun. It's funny you're saying that. Well, we're in our own house. I was thinking when I was hanging out with Jacob, your son, more of an apartment style. Those speakers get cranked up, and it's
they can.
Man, those walls are thin, son. You should probably turn that. You're a little too used to this, because it's so funny. It's like, oh, you gotta be considerate. I remember we were watching movies here like 11 and midnight, and then I know your wife, it's like, oh, 8 o'clock bedtime for me. So I'm like, man, this thing gotta be a killer.
That's a different story. When Jessica's asleep, she hears everything.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way to trap what's happening in this room and keep it in this room. It's going to travel throughout the house. It just doesn't go beyond our house, fortunately.
Yep.
because there's cement blocks. So definitely that helps. But
Excellent. But so yeah, one. It's just so funny kind of talk to you because you're like, oh, the audio and the visual aspect. It's not even like
it's not even,
well,
I
it's
love a good story.
yeah,
Don't get me
yeah,
wrong.
no, I know.
Yeah, I love. I mean, Spider-Man: No Way Home was phenomenal.
Oh, tremendous.
We watched a movie. It was The Black Widow.
Oh,
Now
okay.
that wasn't even like a lot of action. It had some action in it, and I
Yeah.
thought it would have more being
Yeah.
a Marvel movie, but it was more about the story of her. Super compelling, and so I love the story, but I think what got me into home theater was just the sound and
Right.
the bass and that experience. I think that's really what drives me to wanting to have. And this funny thing is, this wasn't even my idea. When we bought a home,
Oh, really?
Jessica said, she said, "Hey, you ought to have your own dedicated theater." What kind of woman
What a
says?
blessing.
But what's funny, Drew, what I didn't know at that time was why.
Right.
The why was she was tired of seeing all my speakers in the living room.
Oh, there you go.
So she's thinking, hey, if Michael has his own room, he can do whatever he wants in there. Put whatever speakers you want in there. We can close the door, and I never have to see it.
Still
But
got to
now-
hear it, but
But now, of course, I do have speakers in the living room, and that was her idea too, because she wanted new furniture.
right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there's always
Nice
something.
towers, nice shelves out there.
Yeah. So there's always something Jessica wants, and so, but it turned out great. Who knew that her thought of, hey, you ought to have your own room, would eventually turn into a business and a change of career path, really. So again, that's where that journey in life, we don't ever know where life's going to take us, but just being aware and open to change, that's hard for a lot of us, especially me. I'm a creature of habit. I don't like to change. I mean, I had the same paint in here for like 14 years.
Yeah.
And I finally changed it from like a dark maroon to this gray. And I'm like, why did I wait so long to do that? I love the gray now. So
Yeah, it's tremendous color.
but being able to, to being open to change and being open to what life brings you, sometimes things just drop in our lap and they fall into place and they work out. Sometimes they don't. But at the end of the day, man, it's just a journey and you just walk through it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than the journey and experiencing it as it comes, even though that can be certainly hard to do.
Sure.
But, I mean, once you get there, and I've said it before, it's once you're able to achieve that progress and take note of it,
Yeah.
I mean, that opens up all the doors. But, I mean, I've definitely enjoyed the conversation
Thanks, man.
today.
It's been a blast.
Appreciate you letting me come by, use the facilities, quality microphones.
man.
Maybe setting the bar a little too high, because
That's
then
okay.
next week it's gonna it's a big drop. But
Hopefully, and honestly, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is, again, to inspire you.
right,
Not to say that you got to get to this level, but just to show you, okay, what does this process even look like for me as a content creator at where I'm at? Now, of course, again, I didn't have a $5,000 camera. I didn't have nice lighting. I did a lot of videos with no lighting,
right,
and then I bought a simple like $20 light, and then I added, so you just do it over time. But
my
I just,
lights are lamps right now. I
totally cool.
plug them in.
That's
and
totally
it's-
cool. But it's one of those things where hopefully this just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, it kind of casts a vision to
Right,
you
certainly.
on maybe where your channel may go.
It's like a certain goal or something to aspire
Yeah,
to.
sure.
But I mean, yeah, it's definitely setting the bar. Maybe I'll get into the home theater game so I can, you know what? Maybe I'll just start reviewing video editing lights because
Yeah.
I can make some money and then I'll just switch my direction, find a
100%.
different column.
Never know what happens.
Heck yeah! But thanks so much again. You can check out Youthman.
Youthman.
Yep, just straight Youthman.
Youthman.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you search YouTube for Youthman, you'll see I've got 450 videos, so you'll find it.
Not youth pastor.
Yep.
Youthman.
Youthman.
Youthman. But yeah, and that's, yep, you can check him out. Great guy.
Thanks, man.
Tremendous content. Lovely family. Great attitude. Just a pleasure. And thanks so much again. Certainly do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Man.
and-
Appreciate you letting me be on your show.
Yep. Oh, 100%. Always certainly a pleasure. Glad we're finally able to kind of settle it in, work
Make it
it out.
happen.
But yes, sir. But definitely a pleasure. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Cool, man. Yeah, it's been fun.